they'll launch a nuclear weapon. You'll have two mission objectives. First, you're to rescue DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and the president of Arms Tech, Kenneth Baker. Both are being held as hostages. Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have the ability to make a nuclear strike and stop them if they do.
What's the insertion method?
We'll approach the disposal facility by sub.
And then?
We'll launch a one-man SDV.
I thought it said STV.
After the SDV gets as close as it can, dispose of it. From there on, you'll have to swim.
When PS1 got dark and murky, it did it so well.
High-tech Special Forces Unit
Fuck that shot.
Foxhound. Your former unit, and one that I was a commander of.
So they're still around.
There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mattis, with his powerful psychic abilities.
Oh, that guy.
Sniper Wolf, the beautiful and deadly sharpshooter. Decoy Octopus, master of disguise. Vulcan Raven, giant and shaman. And Revolver
Shaven?
Ocelot,
Shaman.
specialist in interrogation, and a former
Revolver Ocelot.
and
Revolver
final
Oh, that's
Ocelot.
why that's
charge of
why
them.
that's a term.
Foxhound squad leader, Liquid Snake,
Liquid Snake.
the man with the same codename as you. The nuclear weapons disposal facility covers the whole island. I'll instruct you by codec after you reach your target.
Anyone going with me?
As usual, this is a one-man infiltration mission.
Weapons and equipment OSP?
Yes, this is a top-secret black op. Don't expect any official support.
Something I do find fascinating, though, is which one of the games is the "War has changed" quote come from?
MGS4.
One thing I do like is the meaning behind that quote in Metal Gear, and the meaning behind the quote "War never changes" in Fallout. They
Yeah.
actually go together.
Because it's both, like, the fact that war doesn't, like, a war will always happen is always going to be a part of, like, life. But at the
Yeah,
same
what-
time, the intent and purpose of that war changes.
The context and purpose change, but in the end, men still fight and die.
Full screen.
Yeah, the outcome doesn't change.
There we go. Let me put up my chat so I know if anybody talks.
Ow.
Whoops.
I'm starting to regret eating these potato chips.
Bum. Should we do them, the briefings?
Yeah, do the briefing. Since it covers important information.
It's been a long time, Snake.
I should have known you were behind this, Colonel.
That's no way to greet an old war buddy, Snake.
What do you want from me?
I just invited you here so we could have a talk.
Invited?
Why is
That's what you
it
call
muted
sending
all of a
armed
sudden?
soldiers after me?
You can't hear me?
Sorry if they were a little...
You can't hear
No,
it?
I can't hear the stream. I could hear it
Got a
before, but I
serious
can't hear it now.
situation here.
Same.
Only you can get us out of it.
Oh, what? It's an emulator. The sounds might just be
You're not my
broken.
commander anymore.
Can you
and
hear
I
it
don't have
now?
to take orders from you
No.
or anyone
No.
else.
You will take these
Maybe
orders.
Twitch can hear
Right.
it.
I know it.
Rich can probably hear it. Let me...
Excuse me.
Who's this?
Now I can hear it.
Dr. Naomi
Okay.
Hunter.
I'll
She's
just
chief
avoid
of Foxhound's
going full
medical
screen.
staff and an expert in gene therapy.
Are you military?
No, civilian. I've been sent here from ATGC. Pleasure to meet you, Snake. Don't worry, this injection won't hurt a bit.
What's the shot
Lies.
for?
What's wrong? You don't like shots?
I don't.
Snake, listen up. It all went down 5 hours ago. Heavily armed soldiers occupied Shadow Moses Island, a remote island off the coast of Alaska.
What soldiers?
Next generation special forces, led by members of Unit Foxhound. They've presented Washington with a single demand, and they say that if it isn't met, they'll launch a nuclear weapon.
A nuclear weapon?
I'm afraid so. You see, the island is the site of a secret nuclear weapons disposal facility.
Foxhound hijacking a nuclear weapon?
Now you understand how serious the situation is. You'll have 2 mission objectives. First, you're to rescue the DARPA chief, Donald Anderson, and the president of Armstech, Kenneth Baker. They're both being held as hostages.
Those are some heavy-duty hostages.
Secondly, you're to investigate whether or not the terrorists have the ability to launch a nuclear strike, and stop them if they do. Any questions, Snake?
Questions? I haven't even said whether I'd accept this mission.
Well, you can make up your mind after you hear more about the situation.
Tell me about the nuclear weapon disposal facility.
The disposal facility
went,
includes
quiet
a
again.
hardened underground base.
Yeah, it's every time you start
Even with
one of
our
these.
most advanced
Aw, man.
intelligence gathering
Yeah, I'd
equipment,
just leave it
we
around.
can't tell what's happening inside.
So someone needs to penetrate, gather intelligence, and report back. Sounds like a spy movie. What's the insertion method?
Well, an air insertion is impossible.
Not with this storm going on.
Can you hear it
We'll
now?
approach the disposal
Yeah.
facility by
Let me
sub.
find a way if I can get it out of
Yes,
the OBS.
within a few miles
That way you
of
can
it.
hear it from there.
The facility is equipped with sonar detection capabilities. They'd be able to hear our engine or propeller noise.
And then...
We'll launch a one-man SDV.
launch.
Same as a torpedo, only this has no propulsion device of its own. After the SDV gets as close as it can, dispose of it. From there on, you'll have to swim.
You want me to swim in sub-zero Alaskan water?
Don't worry. That suit represents the latest advances in polythermal technology.
Hey, thanks for the follow.
The nuclear weapons disposal facility covers the whole island. I'll instruct you by codec after you reach your target.
Anyone going with me?
As usual, this is a one-man infiltration mission.
Weapons and equipment OSP?
Yes, this is a top-secret black op. Don't expect any official support.
Can you hear the menu sounds?
Yes.
Okay. It's gonna be weird. I'm guessing you can't hear now.
What's the time limit?
Yeah.
24 hours.
So
Yeah.
now it's mute.
They say they'll launch after 24 hours.
All right.
Do they say what the target will be?
So far, they haven't mentioned the target.
When did the countdown
Can you hear
start?
it?
5
No.
hours ago.
I think it's just the emulator.
Okay. That's and then like you'd have to do for Twitch, but I don't want it at the same time like you like overhearing yourself over it. Unless like unless you can be quiet for like the
I'm gonna mute, so.
Hobo's just muting himself.
see if you can hear this. Windows. Can you hear this?
No.
Nope. Let me quickly look at the audio settings then to see if I can. I'll put on that same like conversation again since it's a short one. Can you still hear?
No,
You can't hear
it's
it?
not working.
It's not working anymore?
Yeah. I just let it go, in all honesty. I'm distracted with zombies right now.
Because, like, you could just, like, read the subtitles, but I also want you to hear the voice acting, because it's really good. I have to rely on them later. I kind of don't want. Wait. Can you hear from this anything?
No, I don't
Okay.
think I do.
Okay, good. And now you hear from this.
Okay, now I do, yeah.
Okay. We put on this. Tell me once you can't hear anything.
What's the
Alright.
time limit?
24 hours.
Can you hear?
They say
Yeah.
they'll launch after 24 hours.
Do they say what the target will be?
So far, they haven't mentioned the target.
When did the countdown start?
5 hours ago.
Can you still hear?
Yeah.
Let me put it one more time.
What's the time limit?
Can you hear?
24
I can
hours.
still hear it, yeah.
Okay, I
They
think I
say
fixed
they'll
it then.
launch after
Booyah!
24 hours.
What was it?
Do they say
I
what the
just
target will
went to
be?
the audio settings.
So
I don't know what
far,
the
they
fuck the
haven't
numbers were,
mentioned the target.
but all I did was check mark
When
save.
did the countdown
And
start?
that, I think that did
5
it.
hours ago.
Strange.
Yeah, but hey, it worked. Oh, whoops. Sorry that I'm checking so often. You still hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still hear it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I may have solved it, Hobo.
Yeah, I'm back. Cool.
Alright. Person in charge of the operation.
Colonel, who are you speaking for?
Naturally, I'm representing the U.S. government.
So who's in supervisory control of this operation?
The President of the United States.
Which means that the President must be meeting with his top aides in the map room about now, huh?
No, at this point, they're still video conferencing with each other.
If that's a real nuclear warhead, shouldn't they issue a COG?
Not yet. The Secretary of Defense has operational control and is fully aware of the situation. After you infiltrate, if you determine they possess nuclear launch capabilities, a COG will be issued.
Well, if they haven't relocated to the nuclear shelter under Mount Washington, I suppose there isn't that much reason to worry yet. Is the National Security Agency in on this?
Yes. So is the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency.
The DIA? I'm starting to get a bad feeling about this.
They'll be sending us some support.
We don't need desk jockeys. We need a nuclear weapons specialist.
Of course. A nuclear weapons specialist has already been assigned to us.
So are these just like chats about the mission?
Yes, it gives miscellaneous information, and anything like that you'll have any questions during the game, it would have probably been answered in here.
We need backup from a specialist. I'm just an amateur when it comes to nuclear weapons.
I know. That's why I've requested the assistance of a military analyst named Nastasha Romanenko. She'll be providing you backup by Kodak.
Romanenko.
A female analyst?
She's built up an impressive record as an advisor for the Nuclear Emergency Search Team. Contact her if you have any questions.
And I miss Nastasha.
She's also an expert on high-tech
dead?
weapons.
No, she just never
Where's she
appeared in any
working
game
from?
after this.
At her home in Los Angeles.
California. Seems like a million miles away. Colonel, you're retired. Why are you involved in this?
Because there aren't many people who know Foxhound as well as I do.
Is that really the only
I think
reason?
we lost sound
I've been
again.
soldiering for
Yeah,
a
I
long
lost
time.
sound.
God
I don't
damn
know
it.
anything else. I guess even though I'm getting a little old.
It was
I'm
working
still
for longer
relatively
than
in the
usual.
field.
Colonel, you're a lousy liar. Tell me the real
Bless you.
reason.
Thank you.
Okay, Snake. Sorry. I'll be frank. A person very dear to me is being held hostage.
Who is it?
My niece, Meryl.
Well, I got what I needed.
And you still here?
What was your niece
Yeah.
doing here?
Several soldiers were reported missing the day of the revolt. And my niece was one of those called in as an emergency replacement.
She looks like you.
She's my little brother's girl. He died in the Gulf War, and since then I've been watching after her.
A personal motive, Colonel. That's not very soldierly.
I'm retired. I'm just an old man now. And I'm your friend.
Since when are we friends?
I've thought of us as friends since the fall of Zanzibar.
With my personality, I don't have too many friends.
That's what I trust about you. It's what makes you human. Please, Snake. Save my niece, Meryl.
All right. But I have two conditions.
Name them.
Real quick, I need to
One,
put something on
no
charge.
more secrets between us. I want complete disclosure at all times. And two, I'll only accept orders directly from you, Colonel. No cutoffs involved, okay?
Agreed. That's why I was called. But one thing,
What?
I'm not a colonel anymore. Just a retired old warhorse.
I understand, Colonel.
Still calls him Colonel.
That doctor, is she part of this operation too?
She was in charge of Foxhound's gene therapy. She knows more about those men than anyone else.
You mean you've seen them naked?
Make no mistake, I'm not a nurse. I'm a scientist.
By the way, what was that injection for?
It's a combination of nanomachines and an anti-freezing peptide so that your blood and other bodily fluids don't freeze, even at subarctic temperatures.
Nanomachines.
Not just one kind, either. There are different types which will
Nanomachines,
replenish the supply of
Nanomachines.
adrenaline, nutrition, and sugar in your bloodstream.
Now I don't have to worry
Because
about food.
I also
science.
put some nootropics in there.
Say what?
Nanomachines.
Nootropics. A class of drugs which will help improve your mental
Okay,
functioning.
magic.
It'll make me smarter, huh? Anything else?
Yes, Benzedrine. It's a type of stimulant. It'll keep you alert and responsive for 12 straight hours.
That was quite a cocktail. Anything else in there?
Those nanomachines will also keep your Codex batteries charged up.
Well, I guess I can call you when I'm ready to go on a diet.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, nanomachines is magic.
That's gonna suck if he tries to like lay down for bed and those drugs are still kicked
God
in.
damn it! I forget that you don't have to press B. You just have to press left, and you go back to the other menu. Relieve
That would
it.
It would be really funny if during that conversation he just goes, "Oh yeah, if you have an erection for more than 4 hours, you should come back." With how many darn drugs she put in there.
Yay!
The chief of DARPA and the president of an arms manufacturing company. What business did they have at a nuclear weapons disposal facility?
The truth is that secret exercises were being conducted at the time the terrorist group attacked.
Must be extremely important exercises if those two were directly involved. Were
It's
they testing some
quiet
kind
again.
of new advanced weapon?
I'm not privy to that information.
Do we know exactly where they're being held?
The DARPA chief has also been injected with the mini transmitter. As you get closer, you should be able to pick up his location on your radar.
I just hope this doesn't happen during normal gameplay, and it's just during this menu.
Hopefully.
Maybe it has to do with a volume thing. I'll check that later.
Do they really have the ability to launch a nuclear missile?
They say they do. They even gave us the serial number of the warhead they plan to use.
Was the number confirmed?
I'm afraid so. At the very least, they've got their hands on a real nuclear warhead.
Isn't there some kind of safety device to prevent this type of terrorism?
Yes. Every missile and warhead in our arsenal is equipped with a PAL, which uses a discrete detonation code.
PAL.
Permissive Action Link. The safety control system built into all nuclear weapons systems. But even so, we can't rest easy.
Why not?
Because the DARPA chief knows the detonation code.
But even if they have a nuclear warhead, it must have been removed from its missile. All the missiles on these disposal sites are supposed to be dismantled. It's not that easy to get your hands on an ICBM.
That used to be true. But since the end of the Cold War, you can get anything if you have enough money and the right connections.
Whoa, a little too real for a second.
I know, right? Shit!
How well armed are these terrorists? I know there was an exercise going on at the time they revolted.
They're heavily armed, I'm afraid.
What about their battle experience?
The 6 members of Foxhound in charge are all hardened veterans. They're tough enough to eat nails and ask for seconds.
I wouldn't expect anything less from Foxhound.
The others are next-generation special forces. They're not your average grunts either.
So what exactly are they demanding?
A person's remains.
Remains?
That's right. To be more accurate, cell specimens which contain the individual's genomic information.
Cell specimens? Why would they want that?
The terrorists need them. You see, these next-generation special forces have been strengthened through gene therapy.
Strengthened?
You've heard of the Human Genome Project. They've been mapping the human genome, and they're nearly finished. Following up on this research, the military has been working towards identifying those genes which are responsible for making effective soldiers.
There are genes that do that?
Yes. And using gene therapy, they're able to transplant those genes into regular soldiers.
Gene therapy?
I'll explain this part. With gene therapy, we can remove those genes which we know may lead to sickness or disease.
This
And at the
hurts.
same time, splice in genes with beneficial effects, such as resistance to cancer, for example.
This is exactly what you use to get vegetables with eyes.
And at the same time, add genetic characteristics as desired.
Okay. And so if you knew what genes were responsible for making the perfect soldier, you could implant them in the same way.
Genes are not
right?
required. Memes are required.
But it all depends on being able to isolate and identify those soldier genes.
And in order to do that, it's helpful if you can study the genomic information of one of the greatest soldiers ever.
And if Nuke come back, nothing bad will happen.
One of the greatest soldiers ever?
The man they call the greatest warrior of the 20th century.
You don't mean Big Boss.
That's right. We've been working feverishly to identify the genes responsible for his incredible combat skill. So far, we've discovered about 60 of the so-called soldier genes.
Is this the
His
first
body
game?
was recovered after all.
This is the first
Yes,
localized
and his
game.
cells
Well,
are
no,
remain
that's technically
frozen
the
in a
line.
cryochamber.
But it's the
His
first of
genomic
like the
information
actual
is a
game.
priceless
Hold on over
treasure to
here.
mankind.
The other one,
Priceless to the
Metal
military,
Gear for the
perhaps.
NES, is a
His body was burned
different.
severely, but it
It's
was
a change. It's a
possible to
slightly changed
restore his
version
DNA
of the
profile from
original
just a
one from
single
the
strand of his hair.
You
MSX2 in
people are
Japan.
amazing. And then you're gonna
What's
transplant
important
those
is
genes
that-
into soldiers?
Yes.
Yeah,
They use
basically
a
when they
process
talk about
that
the
I
other
discovered called
missions,
gene targeting.
they're the other
The strongest
games, but
soldiers
they
don't
tell you the
become
story
what they
here.
are by acquiring their
Alright.
skills through
You won't need
training
to
or
play them.
experience.
Like,
We
it's
now
still
know
worth
that
playing. It's
hereditary
still worth
factors
playing
are
for the
far
history
more
reasons. The
crucial
first
for
one,
creating
and the
superior
second one still
soldiers.
holds up super well.
Snake,
But this one
can't give
tells
them
you
his
the
body.
you don't need to have the
Potentially more
first
dangerous
two
than
to
all
know
the
that.
nuclear warheads on that island put together.
I hear the terrorists are
Just
calling
need to know who
themselves
Big
the
Boss
Sons of
is.
Big Boss.
The sons of Big Boss.
And that Snake fucked his shit up back in the day.
Basically, basically, Big Boss was his boss, like literally his boss. But he was secretly the villain, so he fucked his shit up.
Wait, what?
Okay, just ignore that.
I zoned out.
Don't worry, so did I through that. But it was Big Boss, so I understood.
All I remember,
Tell
the
me
only thing
about
is,
these next generation
is
special
isn't
forces.
there a link between
They
Liquid Snake
started
and
out
Big
as an
Boss?
anti-terrorist special ops unit, made up of former members of
Let's play the
biotech
game and
units,
find out.
technical escort units, and the nuclear emergency surge team.
Oh yeah, and that when
The purpose was to
Snake
respond to
killed
threats
Big Boss,
involving
Big Boss was like,
next-generation
"I'm your
weapons of mass
father."
destruction.
I thought one was like a
including
clone of the
NBC
other or
weapons.
something.
Until
Let's
they
play this
were
game
at
and find
it,
out.
that is.
Who's they?
These
Apparently
guys
Big Boss
didn't
is
start
Snake's
out as
father.
regular army.
Looks like a pretty international group. Mercenaries?
Yeah, and it gets worse. Most of them were from a merc agency that I think you're familiar with. They were part of Big Boss's private guard. And after Big Boss went down, the military just bought out all their contracts.
Outer heaven.
After that, they were merged with our own VR unit, Force 21, and retrained. If you ask me, these so-called next-generation special forces should be called simulated soldiers. They have no real battle experience.
Video game players, huh?
Don't forget they've all been strengthened with gene therapy. They carry genes which make them excellent soldiers. Don't get careless just because they don't have much experience.
But they also carry excellent
I
memes
thought
because
using
video
genetically
games.
modified soldiers was prohibited by international law.
Yes, but those are just declarations, not actual treaties.
The interesting thing is that nearly every member of the unit conspired in this attack.
You guys still get audio, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
If it goes out at all when I notice, I'll tell ya.
Alright, knock on wood.
How could an entire unit be subverted to rebellion?
They're calling it a revolution.
Since they all went through the same gene therapy, they probably felt closer than brothers. They see the unit as their only family.
The sons of Big Boss. But if they were regular army, they must have been interviewed periodically by army counselors.
According to their files, they all got straight A's on their psychological tests. They all seemed like fine, upstanding, patriotic soldiers.
But they all took part in the uprising?
No, several people didn't show up on the day of the exercise. That's why there was a resupply of troops.
Was there any sign recently that something might be wrong?
There was a report a month ago that they were acting strangely.
Apparently they consulted classified information about the soldier genes and performed their own gene therapy experiments.
They can do that even without you?
Well, our gene therapy process is almost completely automated. And besides that, they're all geniuses with IQs over 180.
Even the existence of this genome army is a national secret of the highest order. We've been hoping to investigate this thing quietly and deal with it behind closed doors.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, this just illustrates why Kojima's so weird.
High-tech special forces.
It's
unit
half so
Foxhound.
real and
Your
half
former
absolutely
unit,
batshit.
the one that I was a commander of.
I haven't seen the bat stuff
An
yet.
elite group combining firepower and expertise. They're every bit as good as when I was commanding them.
So they're still around.
There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mantis, with his powerful psychic abilities. Sniper Wolf, the beautiful and deadly sharpshooter. Decoy Octopus, master of disguise. Vulcan
Still a dumb
Raven,
name.
giant and shaman. And Revolver Ocelot, specialist in interrogation and a formidable gunfighter.
Looks like a lovely bunch of folks. Too bad we'll be meeting under these circumstances.
And finally, in charge of them, Foxhound's squad leader, Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake?
Yes. And you're the only person who can stand against him.
Liquid Snake, Snake, and then Big Boss. Why do I remember there being a big link between those three?
Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake. The man with the
Liquid
same
Snake.
codename as you.
Tell me what you know.
He fought in the Gulf War as a teenager.
Gulf
Youngest
War?
person in the SAS. His job was to track down and destroy mobile Scud missile launching platforms. You were there too, I
Gun
believe.
missiles.
Didn't you infiltrate Western Iraq with a platoon of Green Berets?
I was just
Green
a kid
Berets.
myself back then.
The details are classified, but it seems that originally he penetrated the Middle East as a sleeper for the SIS.
Penetrated the Middle
He was
East.
a spy for the
Colonel.
Secret Intelligence Service?
But he never once showed his face in Century House. He was taken prisoner in Iraq, and after that there was no trace of him for several years. After you retired, he was rescued and became a member of Foxhound.
I thought that by the time I left, they were no longer using code names.
I don't know his real name, That information is so highly classified that even I can't look at it. Here's a photo of him.
Snake's real name, which is really girly and
Pretty shot.
bitchy.
What?
His
That's
skin
why-
tone is different.
Liquid
but
Death.
the two are exact duplicates.
Well, it's not even girly, right? It's too
I have
biblical.
a twin?
I don't know
It's
the
like,
details.
that's why he
but
just
it
goes by
seems so.
Liquid.
It's like
That's why we
ill,
really need you
ill.
for this mission.
Fuck.
You're the only one who can beat him. Now that I've met you, I know. You've got something that he doesn't. I can see it in your eyes.
Why don't I find that thought more comforting?
Snake, I'm gonna inject you with fucking cancer.
There are so many jokes behind that you don't realize.
And now we exit, and then because we watched everything, we get this little tidbit.
I need to borrow your scissors.
What are you going to do?
Oh, Pinky.
Sounds
Don't worry,
out.
just gonna clean myself
Sounds
up.
out, yeah.
Huh?
Let me get that.
I don't want to be mistaken for the leader of the terrorists.
Nice tidbit.
I don't want to be mistaken for the leader of the terrorist
So he
group.
cut his hair.
Oh. Oh, right, because they look alike.
And so we can get a little peek at this.
No, don't do VR missions.
But it changes dialogue.
What's a
Side-
VR mission?
Tutorial, like gameplay tutorials, but they look really cool.
If he wants to, he can. I don't care.
And they're only 10. I can do them quick.
No sound.
Yeah, no sound again.
Great, right when the music starts.
Oh yeah, that intro is so good.
Bam, 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 ba-da-dum. Ba-dum, da-da-da-da-dum.
No, we got it.
Wait.
Dude.
Snake. Snake.
Bam, bam. Let me see if
All
there's...
I can think
Does
about is
my
that,
DualShock work? It does
No.
not. The D-pad, it is.
all I can think of is that
I think
Okay,
I have
starts
just
again.
enough. I think I have just enough time to sneak past him before he turns around. So let's see.
every time you fail this, all I can think about is that one Will Smith meme.
Next time you start over, just be quiet so you can hear the intro song.
All right. Right.
Beautiful.
And sound cut out.
Snake.